Alright, so today we are going to review the special director's cut of Avatar, and I wanted to get this review done just before I end up going to see the re-release in theaters, actually. And I really hope that this is the version of the film that they re-release in theaters. I'm hoping, because it's only like an extra 16 minutes longer, so I mean, to sit in the theater for an extra 16 minutes really wouldn't be that big of a deal, especially after it's been so long since it's been in theaters. So yeah, in this one, I feel like the film was even more personal, like, yeah, even more personal to the character, to the main character, just because, yeah, Jake Sully's character in the very beginning, because we kind of learn a little bit about what his life was like on Earth, and as opposed to, like, why he would have, yeah, like what his life was like on Earth, as opposed to, I guess, when he finally gets onto Pandora, and why he would have chosen to be the Avatar, because he felt, I guess, like a sense of, yeah, I guess maybe he felt a sense of belonging finally, from what I'm getting from his kind of backstory. Obviously, it seemed like he had a pretty hard life. Ex-Marine, obviously paralyzed from the waist down. He was the only one who would step up and protect in certain situations, it seemed, when nobody else would. So, yeah, kind of a very interesting backstory to his life. And then obviously he lost his brother, and he was called upon to kind of fill his shoes in a sense. And yeah, that's just the way it went for him. I guess he kind of got lucky with being on the team with, obviously, Grace and the rest of the team. He got a golden opportunity, and he took it, and then actually became one of the indigenous to the Pandora planet. So I guess the actual avatars were called Navis. Was it Navis or Avis? Or yeah, I think it was Navis, the people, and the tribe that he was obviously recruited into. It had an O at the beginning of the name. I can't really remember exactly what it was. Yeah, so the Navi people, and what was the tribe that he was trying to get into? It was like OM something. I can't remember exactly. Forgive me for not remembering that name, but I remember him talking about having dreams in the very beginning of the movie, and then saying that when you're in cryo, like sleep, you don't dream at all. So I guess they were supposed to be in sleep for 6 years, but it was only uh, 5 years and 9 months, and I think 22 days. I've heard that so many times now that, yeah, I kind of have that ingrained in my head. I thought 16 days, but then he said 22, so I was like, okay. I believe that was the right amount of time they were asleep. So they were woken up, I guess, a little early to do this mission. And again, you can see the destruction when they're flying in. That's a very key point, I think, for them mining the unobtainium. Super important scene there. And uh, from the last cut of the movie, I believe it was what was it, the re-release cut with like the 8 minutes of footage, and this is the special director's cut. Special Collector's Edition Director's Cut, I do believe, is what this one was called, if I'm remembering correctly. I might have to look at my case after just to make sure that I'm saying that right. So anyhow, we do finally find out what happened in this school between Neytiri and Grace and all of that. So I guess they were playing one day and ended up destroying a bulldozer, something along those lines. And then when obviously the colonel and the rest of his team found out, they came back and killed Neytiri's sister right in front of her in the whole school. And then after that, the school was shut down because, if you remember in my other review, I was saying about the bullet holes in the school, and Jake asks Grace what had happened there, and she kind of just fumbles around the question and goes, "Are you going to help us pack this equipment or not?" And just, yeah, totally ignores what he had just said. So what else was in this movie? I think some of the battle scenes were a little extended. There was one scene that I don't remember from the other two where the big ship is coming up into the sunset, and it just made it look so much more menacing in that scene. And I'm sure there was obviously little other things, like they had the same two scenes where they're like pointing out all the different creatures, and you see some of the newer creatures that hadn't seen before when they're flying in to do research on the planet. And what else was there? I don't really think there was anything else at the end. Yeah, like most of the things that they added were all kind of like smaller, and you really had to be paying attention to the film to pick up on it. And so, like, after watching the film obviously three times back to back to back, I was kind of like in and out. Like, I'd be out during the scenes that I'd seen, and then I'd be paying attention to the like if something would grip my attention, and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is new. Gotta pay attention for this scene. Uh, what else was there? I think, yes, like I said, some of the battle scenes were a little bit extended, and I don't really know what else I can say because there wasn't. Okay, so as I was saying there, yes, the differences between the regular Navis and the avatar bodies that the humans had, I noticed little subtle differences. One of them being the hands of the Navis only having, I believe, two or three fingers and like the thumbs, but Jake Sully's hands stayed as they would be as a human. So I guess that's why maybe it was really easy for them to uh, tell them tell the avatars apart. I suppose would have been because of that reason, right? So yeah, like the avatars from the actual indigenous to the land, it makes a little bit more sense when you're starting to notice the subtle details between the two of them. I think that might have been really the only difference because everything else seemed to be down to a T, like height-wise, and obviously the color of the skin, and um, they had like these little, I don't really know how to describe it, like patterns on their faces. I'm not really sure whether it was painted on or whether it was actually like part of their body. It was like these little like silver dots that kind of like line their face, and each one seemed to be like distinct to the um, person it was on. So yeah, it was kind of hard to tell whether that was like something they did to themselves or whether it was just there from their birth. And then obviously we have the scene with the home tree going down and them trying to take out the tree of souls. And then there's the whole thing with the tree of voices, I think. And I believe that he actually, maybe there's an extra scene in this where he's praying, I think. That might be extra. I can't remember whether that was in the theatrical cut or not. Um, yeah, I can't really remember. Other than that, I don't think there was too much else that was really extended in this, and I'm trying to think of what else I could really touch on that was different from, yeah, the original cuts. Yeah, I'm just interested, still, again, interested to see how they're going to bring back all these characters into the, obviously, from the second to the fifth film. That's what I'm most interested to see, to be completely honest. So, yeah, I think that's probably pretty much it for this review, because it's kind of just like talking about more again about what was different in this movie compared to the first. And I think that's pretty, if I'm remembering correctly, that was pretty much it. 'Cause it was only a couple days ago when I watched this. So yeah, I'm trying to. Sometimes I have to draw from memory, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Just because oh my god, so busy with other stuff, and then you're like, when do I have time to sit down to do this review? And then you sit down to do it, and yeah. But hopefully, I believe I've touched on everything I wanted to touch on it for this movie, and obviously my rating still stays the same, 10 out of 10, probably for the nostalgia of the movie as well. Something just landed on my glasses. Just because it's been so long since I've seen it. Like, I don't think I've ever, like I said again, don't think I've ever been able to sit down and watch this until now, knowing that the second one is coming out and the older one was being re-released in theaters. So yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in the next review, and bye bye for now.